Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, April 12th, 2023. It is 9:34 in the morning. Okay, this is part 37, Prologue, Theodore Rex. At 20 past 7, the train pulled into Baltimore. Flowers, handkerchiefs, gloves, and Bible pages cushioned the sound of its slowing wheels. The Cadillac was gently detached from the rears of Mrs. Kinley's car and shunted forward for the last stage of the journey. As soon as it was coupled, the train began to move again, serenaded by a choir of 2,000 Negroes. They sang the inevitable dirge, but the tenderness of their voices was such that both words and melody regained full poignance. At least one passenger felt that it was the sweetest music he had ever heard. An hour later, the lights of Washington came into view. Loeb helped Roosevelt into a dark Prince Albert coat and gave him the black kid gloves and silk hat he had worn in Buffalo. Crape was tied around the presidential sleeve. There was neither clanging of bells nor singing when the locomotive nosed under the shed of 6th Street Station at 8:38. The silence filled the cavernous space. Even the crowd outside stood hushed, listening for the final groan of brakes. All personnel on the platform were military or naval, with the exception of two elderly gentlemen in top hats. John Hay and Lyman Gage. Their black clothes made a somber contrast with the glitter of braid and swords all around them. Beside them paced the portly figure of Commander William Sheffield Cowles. Roosevelt, brother-in-law and host until such time as Mrs. McKinley vacated the White House. As usual, in moments of high drama, Roosevelt delayed appearing. For nearly a quarter of an hour, the cabinet waited in a semicircle around his car and anticipated mountains on the platform and in the street. At last, a few minutes before 9, he came down the steps, jaw set sternly. The military guard presented arms. Roosevelt shook hands with Hay and Gage and whispered the urgent word "stay" in the former's ear. He made it clear this was an order Hay could not decline nor even consider. Then he marched on, his cabinet following in double file. 5 Secret Service men appeared from nowhere and clustered about him. Ignoring the crowd at the station entrance, he took command with the natural ease of a colonel of cavalry. Divide off. He waved a black-gloved hand at the cabinet officers. They formed 2 facing ranks. Roosevelt joined Hay, and on the right-hand side, there was a pause. And onlookers barricaded behind the gates were able to contrast his features with those of Senator Hanna. Roosevelt's face was lined with fatigue, but looked harsh and strong. Hanna's was pitiful, full of despair. Soldiers and sailors approached with the coffin on their shoulders. The crowd uncovered and taps broke in the silence. Then, just as the coffin was sliding into the hearse, there was a flash from a window across the street, accompanied by a revolver-like crack. Roosevelt flinched. What was that? A photographer, said Commander Cowles. Something should be done with that fellow. Roosevelt muttered savagely. For a moment, in his nervousness, he forgot he was president and gestured Hay and Gage into his carriage ahead of him. They demurred. He climbed in, taking the rear right seat. The secretaries followed, with Commander Cowles, a little Colonel jumped up on the box, yellow plumes waving. Ahead to the sound of trumpets, the hearse began its journey to the White House. Roosevelt's carriage rolled off a few seconds later. Thousands of spectators watched it disappear into the warm Washington night. That's all for the prologue. And that's all for part 37, Theodore Rex. Thank you for watching.